Hello everyone, welcome to EnglishWagon, a place where you can ace English speaking skills and learn English for free. EnglishWagon also intends to provide free study material for various examinations like SSC, IBPS, PO and all these exams listed on your screen. So if you have any query or need free study material, you can mail me at myenglishwagon@gmail.com. So today we have a session for you which is known as Boost Your Vocabulary. So I've compiled all the words starting with A in this presentation. I'm going to tell you the meanings of those words one by one so that the newbies can learn it and the expertise who have already learned a lot of vocabulary can revise it. So without wasting time, let's begin. First up, we have abashed. Well, abashed means when you get embarrassed or when people make you embarrassed in public or make you uncomfortable, then you use the word abashed. For example, Harriet looked slightly abashed means Harriet looked slightly embarrassed. Next, abject means miserable. When you feel very sad, when you feel very abjected, when you are miserable, when you are sad to the core due to any situation happening in your life, then you use this word abject. For example, the abject condition of the peasants, meaning the miserable condition of the peasants. Next, we have abeyance, means suspended action or not being used, something which is no more in use temporarily. Then we use this word abeyance, which means a state of temporary inactivity. For example, matters were held in abeyance pending further inquiries. So this is how you can use the word abeyance. Next word is abnegation, which means self-denial. When you deny materialistic things and materialistic possessions, then you use this word abnegation. For examples, monks practice abnegation of the material aspects of human life. They choose to lead a simple life without materialistic possession, thus they are abnegating themselves. Next is abominate, something which is very unpleasant, something which you want to detest or something you dislike strongly. For those things or for those people, we use the word abominate, which means extremely bad. For example, there was a man in Himalayas who was considered abominable man because he was very ugly, he was very scary, he was large and giant. So people considered that man abominable and thus called them abominable man or abominable men. Next is abrogate, which means to abolish something, to put an end to a particular thing or to a particular situation or something which you do not want to exist in the society, so you abolish that thing. So indirectly you are abrogating that thing, you are abolishing it. Next is abstemious, which means restrain, especially food and alcohol. You restrain something, you restrain from something. So especially when it is food and alcohol, you use this word abstemious. Next up, we have acclimate, which means to adapt, to get used to any particular thing. You can also say that when you get accustomed to a particular atmosphere or to a particular situation which you are being provided, you acclimate. Next up, we have accentuate, which means to emphasize, to underscore something, to emphasize a particular statement or a particular situation. We use the word accentuate. Next is adumbrate, when you suggest someone, it could be directly or indirectly. So when you try to give a hint or when you suggest someone with something, you use the word adumbrate. Next, we have affectation, which means artificial behavior. When you are not someone but you are trying to imitate that person, you are trying to be an imposter, thus you are affectation. Ultimately, that is your artificial behavior which is not natural. If you do this, you will be considered unpleasant. Next is affray, which means fight in public. It could be small fight or a big fight, but when you fight in public, you use the word affray. Affront means insult openly. Insult in public, insult openly. When you try to demean someone or when you try to degrade someone, you use the word affront. Next up, we have aggrandize, which means to make greater, more powerful and richer. When you try to fortify someone or when you try to strengthen someone, you actually aggrandize that person. Next is albeit, which means although. So instead of using although, you can use albeit. Next one we have allude, which means to refer indirectly. To refer something, to suggest something indirectly, we use the word allude. Next is altercate, when you have a verbal spat. When you're not physically involved in any kind of fight, but you are fighting with words, you are using words to fight. When you don't use your hands to fight, then in that case, you say that you are altercating. Next up, we have ameliorate. Ameliorate means to improve something. When you try to improve your past condition, you ameliorate. You try to improve it through hard working. You ameliorate it through hard working. Next is amnesty. Amnesty means a general pardon, especially for an offense against government. That is known as amnesty. Next is anathema, something loathed. For example, if some person doesn't like you and you have the same feeling for that person, you have anathema for each other. That is mutual hatred. When you have an aversion for a particular thing or for a particular person, it is called anathema. You hate it completely. You dislike it completely. Anchorite means a religion recluse. Next up, we have antipathy, which is similar to anathema, which is loath to something which is strongly disliked. Then for those things, you use the word antipathy. When you do not like something and you have great aversion for that thing. Next is antagonism, which is similar to antipathy, anathema, hostility. For someone you carry hostility, you are antagonizing that person. Next is antithetical. When you want something to happen, but if it happens directly opposite to it, you say that it was or it is antithetical. Next is apathy, which means lack of emotion. When you are unconcerned about a particular situation or for a person, you have no emotions for that person, you say that you are showing apathy towards him or towards that thing. Aplomb means someone who has self-confidence, someone who is very sure about himself. It's a trait of a human being. It's a very positive word. Someone with very much self-confidence and someone who is very confident, very sure about himself, you say in a positive manner, then you say that that person is aplomb. Next is apogee. Apogee means highest point, apex, and the opposite of this word apogee is nadir, N-A-D-I-R. So apogee's synonyms are apex point, zenith. So all these are synonym of apogee, and the opposite of apogee is nadir, that is N-A-D-I-R. Next is approbation, means approval. If you get permission for something, if you get approved, then you are approbated. Next up, we have artifice, which means someone who is mastering at tricking you, or someone who is mastering at deceiving you, someone who tricks you, that person is artifice. Next is ascribe, means consider to be the origin or belonging to, or to attribute or put something down. For example, his stomach pains were ascribed to his intake of pork. Just because he ate pork, he had stomach pains. So for that, you can use the word ascribe. I'm repeating it again. His stomach pains were ascribed to his intake of pork. So the origin of pain was due to intake of pork. So this is how you can use this word, which is ascribe. Next is aseptic, which means surgically clean. Something which is hygienic, something which is clean, we use the word aseptic. It is a biological term usually used in hospitals. Next is asinine, which means someone who is stupid or foolish. So asinine means someone who is foolish. It's very simple. Next is askance, which means to look with suspicion. So when you give a suspicious look to someone, it is known as askance. Next one we have asperity, which means a roughness or harshness. So when you talk to a person with asperity, you are rude to that person. This shows roughness of your behavior. Next is asservate, means to state positively, to state affirmatively. For those things, we use the word asservate, to say in a very positive manner or to state in a very positive manner. Next up, we have astute, which means who is very clever and skillful. It's a very positive word, which means someone who is very clever and skilled in a particular work. Athwart means lying across or sideways. So you lie athwart in your bed, or you lie athwart in your couch. So this is how you can use it in sentences. Thwart means to block something, but athwart means lying across or sideways. Atypical means something again which is not typical. We use it in our day-to-day conversations. Rather than saying not typical, we can say atypical. Asunder means to break something into pieces. Not to break something, but something which is in pieces, something which is lying down into various pieces, we say that it's asunder. Then attenuate. Attenuate means make thin or weaken. It's opposite of aggrandize. Aggrandize means to make something powerful, to make something strong, but attenuate means to make something thin or weaken that thing. So that's all from my side. I hope you enjoyed the session. These were all the important words starting with A, and they are very important for exam point of view. So I hope you enjoyed the session, and if you really think this video was helpful, please give us a like, subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for all related updates. Thank you so much.